Hi guys, welcome to Language. I wanted to give you a little heads up on what's going on this week. Tomorrow there's a quiz. Wednesday there's a test. The quiz instructions are right there in the class notes. So look at the class, look at the quiz instructions. The quiz instructions in the class will tell you where to go in your textbook because we're going to do the quiz from the textbook. There's an exercise that has 10 sentences. There's some blanks in front of the sentences, and you're supposed to look at the sentence and see if there's an incorrect word form. And if there's an incorrect word form, you put the correct form of the word that's wrong in the blank. And then if the sentence is totally correct and there's no errors, then you write correct in the blank. So I'll give you a hint. There's two sentences that are correct. And so the example, for instance, would be the sentence says something about, I ate the food. Well, we know ate is incorrect word form, and the correct form would be ate, A-T-E. So you would write A-T-E in the blank in front of the sentence. So the class instructions will tell you where to find that exercise in your book. So take that quiz in your book, fill out the answers, then go online and take and copy the answers that you wrote down in your book and just put them right into the online quiz. So that's actually probably sounds more detailed than what it really is. It's not that big of a deal. And then I wanted to give a few hints on some of the items that we've been talking about: finding direct objects, predicate nominatives, predicate adjectives. So direct objects are in a sentence that has a action verb. There may be an indirect object, but that's always in between the direct object and the verb. And then remember that the first step is to take and find the prepositional phrases. If you can identify those prepositional phrases, take those out of the picture, because the direct object or none of our complements will be in those prepositional phrases. So that's an easy way to help yourself with those sentences, is identify the prepositional phrases. All right, so once you do that, keep in mind the direct object is who or what is the verb acting on, okay? And then the indirect object, you ask who or what from the direct object. There's not always an indirect object. Now, the predicate nominative is just a pronoun that is in, or a noun that's in the preposition that is another name for the subject. And then a predicate adjective is an adjective in the predicate that's just describing the subject. And so these really shouldn't be too difficult. If you keep those concepts in mind, it's really not too difficult. Then I wanted to mention diagramming. When we diagram complements, there's a great description in your textbook on page 284. So go to page 284. The blue box up at the top gives you 4 examples of how to diagram a direct object, a sentence with an indirect object, a predicate nominative, and a predicate adjective. They're all there. And also, you can go back and review the videos anytime you want. You can review them as many times as you want. And so if it's confusing, go back and review the videos for the diagramming complements class. So on page 284, those examples, remember when we do our diagrams, it's very important when we lay out our horizontal line and we have the subject on one side and the verb on the other. That's how we always start. The line needs to be vertical. Be very conscious, be very careful. Always be careful to do great work. And so a vertical line separates the subject from the verb. Then when we have a direct object, there's always another vertical line. So get used to making those lines really straight up and down. Then when we have an indirect object, that means we had to have had a direct object. And so you're going to have 2 vertical lines, one in between the subject and verb, and then one between the verb and the direct object, and then the indirect object gets diagrammed underneath the verb. It kind of looks like a preposition, prepositional phrase. There's going to be the slant line and then the horizontal line. Only the slant line where the preposition usually goes won't have anything on it when you're doing an indirect object, okay? And then the predicate nominative. Now the predicate nominative goes in the same place as a direct object, but for the predicate nominative and the predicate adjective, we're going to be doing slant lines that point kind of back toward the subject. That's why it's always important to have our vertical lines, because then when we have the slant line that points back toward the subject, we know that it's a predicate nominative or a predicate adjective. All right? So hopefully that helps. Go back to page 284. Take a look there. We do have the quiz tomorrow, and we have the test on Wednesday. Guys, I'm excited because you guys have been doing a great job. I know you're working hard. I know some of this is a little confusing, but most of you are catching on and working through it really well. Hey, there's only a couple more weeks of school left. Something positive to think about, right? And then you won't have to hear Mr. Wagner sing in Bible class. Have a great week.